Hi, I'm Emma. Thank you for joining me with this Yin Yoga practice for runners. So I've just taken up running again after quite a good few years hiatus, and it's definitely hard. My old bones feel it, especially running on concrete. So there are two things I'd like to share with you if you're finding running hard just now. One is a resource with a Feldenkrais running coach. She's called Jay Grunke of The Balanced Runner, and she's amazing. This is a purely personal recommendation, but I'm going to link her YouTube channel down below and also her website. She's got a fantastic list of resources, and she really has helped me find ease and bounce and fluidity in my running. I recommend her wholeheartedly. So she's really helped. When I first started back running, I felt like my knees were made of wooden blocks that were just sort of clunking together with each stride. And she's really helped me find some nice bounce again. But I also like to think that my Yin Yoga practice is helping me recover and keep healthy. So I wanted to share with you the kind of poses that I've been practicing regularly to just kind of help me from falling apart. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Okay, so our first pose of the practice is a toe squat. Mobilizing the feet and the joints of the toes is very beneficial, but can often be a neglected part of the body. We think of the main muscle groups, but there's a lot to be said. Our feet obviously work very hard when we're running, so sending some much needed attention to the feet, I think, is really important for the health of your running career. So the toe squat is the one where you bring all of your toes underneath you, and my little pinky guys, they like to sit this one out. So if you're like me, use your hands to make sure everyone's playing the game, coming along for the ride. Now, as you get here, this may already feel very strong, and if that's your experience, then I recommend using a block or some books that you can sit up on so that you're not pressing all of your weight down into your feet. Today we will be holding each pose for 3 minutes. So do check in, and if already it feels very, very strong, then do use some support. And then, as we do in our Yin practice, we get still and quiet. Here we are, as I say, bringing attention to our toes, which I feel really ignorant in saying, but until I started a regular yoga practice and really sort of learning the mechanics of the body, I didn't pay much attention to my feet, certainly not to my toes. But they are, of course, an integral part of our movement and our push-off in walking and running. So it makes sense to give them attention. Health here really does translate up through the rest of your body. But if you have been neglecting your toes, then this may well be a bit of an assault to the senses. So if that's your experience, connect to your breath. Remember that this practice is moderate. That's where the magic comes from being fairly gentle, about a 6 or so out of 10 in terms of intensity. And also the fact that we hold the poses for time. So please do use support if you need it. If you find that you can't breathe steadily, that's a sign that it's a bit too much too soon. Here we are also tending to our plantar fascia. This is really dense connective tissue at the base of the foot, from the ball of the big toe and the little toe, and forms a triangle down to sort of around the front of the heel. And this can become inflamed with overuse, or if we're not quite mobilizing the full use of our foot. Certainly in my first couple of runs, when I started recently, I could really feel the arches of my feet the next day. So this can be very welcome relief if you find that you're tight at your feet. We have just over 30 seconds left. One more breath. And then come out slowly. Ooh. And take a moment just to let that settle in your body. Okay, we're going to stay working with the feet and the ankles, this time targeting the front. So, as you can see, I'm kneeling. Now, for some of you, if you're very tight here, this may already be enough or even too much. So again, you're welcome to sit up on something. You can also perhaps roll up a blanket or a towel and place it right at the front of your ankle joint. If this feels like a sweet spot for you, then stay here. Otherwise, if you're looking for more, then now the invitation is to lift your knees off. And this is when it might be useful to reach for your support and wedge that underneath your shins or your knees. Again, 3 minutes. I find in my teaching that people are often much tighter here than they appreciate. So this is a valuable area to work with too, waking up the front of the feet and the ankles. You can experiment here with taking your hands back behind you or leaning more forward. And then you just settle down into the shape once again. And please make sure that you are not engaging your muscles here. We are working with a deeper connective tissue, so keeping your muscles relaxed is important. It also makes it less strenuous, so there's less effort involved. That's a key component to the yin practice. We're not striving here or forcing. We are over halfway. As you tune into the sensation, it can be interesting to notice where you feel this most, and if it stays the same throughout the duration of the time. We are stimulating the front side of the legs. And you may feel that the sensation moves. So if you're finding this tedious, boring, then I would invite you and encourage you to take your awareness inside and to feel this pose from the inside out. And it can be really fascinating to follow the sensation. Okay, that's the end. So again, release gently. And I suggest now sitting back and resting in the rebound, straight legs, let that settle. You may feel a heat or tingling, there may be a coolness, a pulsing. Okay, so from here we're going to work round to the back of the legs. And this is when having your half foam roller or a rolled up blanket is going to be needed. So the reason I'm using this prop is we're coming into a forward fold, which traditionally really targets the hamstrings, but by elevating your toes, we get more into the calves. And really, when I first, again, after my first run, I could not walk properly the next day, and it was coming from tightness around my Achilles and my calf. So this is a great pose for targeting more of the back of the leg. So I wanted to share it with you. So with your rolled up blanket or towel or half foam roller, place your toes on your prop with your heels on the floor. And straight away you may feel that as a stretch in your calves. And you choose just how elevated your toes are. And then you start to come forward. Now this does feel quite different from a traditional forward fold. So it may be that you stay halfway or even rest on a countertop or a chair. If it's feeling okay in the backs of your legs, then I would encourage you to come down into your dangle. So don't worry about reaching for the floor. I like to clasp my arms. And certainly relax your head. Again, we'll be here for 3 minutes. This is another nice one where you can really follow and trace the sensation through the backs of your legs and even further, the whole of the back line of your body. This is why I recommend remembering that your head is part of this pose. The fascia of your neck and your back, it's all connected. So release your head. That may mean that your gaze goes through your legs or even in towards your tummy button. Remember, there are no prizes for going in hard. These tissues that we are stimulating do not respond well to intensity, speed, aggression. We have just over 30 seconds left. to come out. Release your arms if you were clasping them. Take your feet off your support. And then you have the option to either roll up to standing. If you take that option, then come up slowly, perhaps even resting halfway. For me, I prefer to roll down towards the floor. Whatever you choose, we'll all meet on the floor. And we'll rest once again. Okay, we're going to continue working with the lower body, bringing our attention now to our quads and our hip flexors, and we get a bit of a bonus back bend as well. So for this, you're going to need your block or your books. Make your way down onto your back. You can move any props out the way. And we'll take a moment here just to rest. So the block or your support goes underneath your pelvis, the back of your pelvis. So your bum, basically, keeping your lower back free. And we'll pause here with both legs straight. And straight away you may feel some nice release across your abdomen and your hip flexors. Into your lower back. And this is a great pose in itself. I practice this one a lot. But we're going to add in a little bit that can help bring a little bit more focus to the front of the body. So to do that, now curl your right knee in towards your chest, and you can either clasp your hands, gently draw your knee into your chest. Sometimes if I have the space or the wall handy, I like to let it rest on something. And here we are getting more into the front of the hip and the fascia of the front of the thigh. And again, we'll stay here for 3 minutes. If you have your leg raised like me, there may be a little bit of additional adductor, so your inner thighs stimulation as well. I'm just pretty lazy, and I like to use support wherever I can. Just feels good to me. The lovely thing about yin is as long as you're feeling it in the target area, so as I say here, your abdomen, your hip flexors, down the front of your thigh, in your lower back, then the rest of your body can do whatever it wants to do, really. Okay. Release your right leg. And stay on the block, both legs stretched out. And now curl the left knee in. I'm going to have to do the work of holding my leg on this side. Again, check in if you're engaging the muscles of your right leg here. You don't need to do that. Let that soften and just flop on the floor. I don't know if you can see, but I'm slightly tilting off to the left here. And again, that's fine. That helps me feel this a bit more. So again, alignment cues don't apply here. Just be guided by your sensation. This is important. We're working again with our deep connective tissue all the way down to our skeletal structure. So we are individual and we will have individual needs. Be guided and trust your own sensation and feedback. I'm still here. The internet hasn't broken. And I'm trusting neither has my timer. There we go. Ding ding. You can release your leg. Once again, we'll pause with both legs straight. Then we will come out. So rebend both your knees. And I suggest squeezing your bum a little bit just to help support your lower back as you lift off. And then lower down. And rest. And that may be stillness, or you may be craving a little bit of movement. Okay, moving round to our glutes now. So bringing your left ankle across to your right thigh. And I suggest the ankle as a starting place. If this is enough for you, then stay here. If you would like a little bit more, you could place a block underneath your right foot. And if that's still not enough for you, then curl your knees into your chest. The idea here is we are now stimulating the outer hips and the glutes. The more you slide your foot across, the more you will feel in terms of there's a whole lot of meat here. So you can experiment with how close together your knees are or far apart. And when you find that sweet spot, then stay there. Again, relax your feet. You don't need to engage the muscles here. So in our Yin Yoga practice, we are stimulating our yin tissues. So if you're a runner, then you are doing yang exercise. Yang exercise really means that it's muscular and that we use rhythm and repetition. So running, bouncing, jumping, weight training, any form of sport really is yang, rhythm, repetition. And that's great for our muscular health. We know we get stronger when we practice that. But that's only half the picture. And in fact, our muscles are responsible for less than 50% of our range of motion, our mobility and suppleness. We have yin tissues, and this is our fascia, so our connective tissue, our ligaments, our joint capsules, even our bones. And these tissues do not respond well to rhythm and repetition. There is a reason you are often advised in muscular activity to engage your muscles to protect your joints. So here we're working with a completely different discipline, where rather than rhythm and repetition, we practice stillness and traction, meaning just this. We hold our poses for periods of time, for minutes at a time. And we're not efforting here, we're not straining. And this is how we strengthen and hydrate and potentially lengthen our connective tissue. So if you're a runner or swimmer, jumper, weight trainer, that's great. You've got the yang activity down. Now we're tending to the other side of ourselves. Please release your legs. Now we'll go to the other side. So it's your right leg that crosses over your left thigh. And go through your checklist, curling your knees in just as much as you need to. You may, like me, notice quite a difference from side to side. So now you know what we're doing and why we're doing it. If you are striving here or efforting, perhaps now you can let that go and trust in the practice and trust in the methodology of this practice. It is counterproductive to engage muscles here, to force, actively stretch. If you don't believe me, you wouldn't perform one bicep curl for 3 minutes. So if it applies that way, then it applies this way too. It is a different methodology. Gently release this pose and rest. Okay, our final pose is a reclined twist, and this one is a straight-legged version. So come on to your back if you aren't there already. Curl your knees into your chest, and just as you would for a normal reclined twist, let your knees fall to the left. Now this is an option to stay here if you are very tight in your hamstrings and it's more effort than is comfortable, then stay here. But if you would like to, now straighten your knees out to the side so your right shoulder blade rests on the floor. And in fact, you could even take your hand round to your rib cage just to encourage it round up towards the ceiling. Now I like this one because it gives me a little bit more. I get into my hips, even my hamstrings a bit. And for that, I find if I let my top leg come a little bit forward and I even can hold on to my foot, that gives me nice sensation. As always, the target area matters most. So for this one, it's the spinal twist. If having the legs straight doesn't work for you, if holding onto your foot is more work than it's worth, then let all of that go and return to your bent leg version. Here we rest. Gently release your twist, come to rest on your back. And now we'll repeat on the other side. So again, I like to start with my knees bent. And then from there, exploring straightening the legs. Staggering my legs like this, taking the top leg a little bit more forward of the bottom leg, gives me a nice sensation down my outer thigh, which is the IT band, which for runners can become very tight and uncomfortable, causing hip or knee pain. So if it's in your body, you might like to explore and see if it's possible to find that too. You could even use a strap. Just so happens that my arms are long enough that it's not straining me to reach for my foot. As I say, this isn't effortful. So if you are looking for that, but you can't quite make contact, then take the effort out by using a strap to bring your foot to you. Gently release your twist. Now it's time to rest, to let that settle in your body. So in Yin, we have pentacle pose, we sort of starfish on the mat. If that doesn't feel good for you for whatever reason, then make your way into your chosen preferred shape. It may be tempting to skip this. This is important, allows your body to integrate your practice. We have applied good stress to our tissues. Now we give ourselves time to heal and repair. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you continued good health and a very long and happy, injury-free running career. Take good care.